In the quiet halls of the Metropolitan Heritage Museum, conservator Sarah Chen carefully examined the oil painting before her. The portrait showed Edmund Blackwood, a wealthy industrialist from 1911. He had built schools and hospitals across the city. Everyone knew him as a kind man who helped the poor. But what Sarah was about to discover would change everything historians thought they knew about this respected figure. The painting had hung in the museum for decades. Visitors walked past it without much thought. It looked like any other portrait from that time period. Blackwood wore a dark suit and posed formally. His expression was serious but gentle. The artist had painted him in rich browns and deep blues. Years of dust and old varnish had made the colors dull and cloudy. Sarah worked as the museum's lead art conservator. She had restored hundreds of paintings over her 20-year career. The Blackwood portrait seemed like a routine job. The museum wanted to clean it for an upcoming exhibition about local history. They expected the work to take about 3 weeks. Sarah set up her equipment in the conservation lab and began her careful examination. She started by taking detailed photographs under different types of light. Normal light showed the painting as visitors saw it every day. But when Sarah switched to infrared imaging, something strange appeared on her computer screen. Near Blackwood's left lapel, she could see faint lines that didn't belong to the original composition. The lines formed what looked like a geometric pattern hidden beneath layers of paint. Sarah had seen this before in her work. Sometimes artists changed their minds while painting. They would paint over parts they didn't like. Other times, someone would add or remove elements years later. But these hidden lines seemed different. They were too precise and deliberate to be a simple artistic change. The pattern had sharp angles and careful measurements that suggested it meant something important. She spent the entire afternoon studying the anomaly from every possible angle. Under ultraviolet light, the hidden shape glowed slightly, indicating it was painted with different materials than the rest of the portrait. This suggested whoever created it wanted it to be permanent but invisible to casual observers. She called Dr. Marcus Webb, a historian who specialized in secret societies and hidden symbols. Marcus had helped the museum solve similar mysteries before. He arrived the next morning with his research materials and a portable scanner that could see even deeper into the painting's layers. His excitement was obvious when he saw Sarah's initial findings. The two worked together for hours, slowly mapping the hidden symbol. As they removed tiny amounts of surface paint with delicate brushes and solvents, the shape became clearer. It was a triangle with a circle inside it. Strange markings surrounded the edges. The symbol was painted in what appeared to be silver paint that had remained bright despite being covered for over a century. Neither Sarah nor Marcus recognized it from any standard historical records. The craftsmanship was too sophisticated to be a simple doodle or artistic mistake. Someone had spent considerable time and effort creating this symbol and then hiding it from view. The placement on Blackwood's lapel suggested it represented something he wore or believed in. Marcus spent the next week searching through academic databases and rare book collections. He contacted other historians and symbol experts around the world. No one had seen anything like it. The symbol didn't match any known family crests, religious signs, or political emblems from that time period. This made Marcus even more determined to solve the puzzle. Frustrated but determined, Marcus decided to research Blackwood himself more carefully. He visited the city archives and requested access to Blackwood's private papers. Most wealthy men from that era had donated their documents to historical societies. Blackwood's family had given his materials to the archive in 1962, 50 years after his death. The papers filled 12 large boxes. Marcus found business letters, bank records, and personal correspondence. At first, everything seemed normal. Blackwood had run a successful steel company that employed thousands of workers. He had married his college sweetheart and raised 3 children who all became successful professionals. He had donated money to worthy causes and served on several charity boards throughout the city. But as Marcus dug deeper into the more personal documents, he found strange references scattered throughout the papers. In a letter to his brother from 1909, Blackwood mentioned the circle and said he looked forward to the next gathering of enlightened minds. Another letter from 1910 talked about our sacred work and guiding the masses toward true progress. These phrases appeared in dozens of letters over several years. Blackwood never explained what they meant. He seemed to assume his correspondents understood the references. The letters suggested he belonged to some kind of exclusive group that met regularly and had specific goals related to society and politics. The tone was always secretive and important. Marcus also found financial records showing regular payments to something called the Architects Fund. These payments were significant amounts, sometimes equal to what Blackwood paid his top employees in a year. The payments occurred monthly and continued for over a decade. No explanation existed for what this fund supported or why Blackwood contributed so much money to it. Marcus found the breakthrough he needed in an unlikely place. While searching through Blackwood's library inventory, he discovered a reference to a book called The Hidden Architects of Progress. The book wasn't in any public library or university collection. Marcus spent days tracking down a copy through rare book dealers and private collectors. When he finally found it, Marcus understood why the book was so hard to locate. It had been privately printed in 1908 by something called the Order of the Silver Triangle. Only 50 copies were ever made, and most had been destroyed when the organization disbanded. The book was filled with symbols, ceremonies, and philosophical writings about power and social control. The book's contents were disturbing and fascinating. It outlined a complete philosophy about how society should be organized and controlled. The authors believed that democracy was a dangerous experiment that would lead to chaos and suffering. They argued that only a select group of intelligent, wealthy, and morally superior individuals could guide humanity toward true progress. On page 47, Marcus found the exact symbol hidden in Blackwood's portrait. According to the book, it was called the Mark of the Architect. Members wore it to identify themselves to other members during secret meetings and public gatherings. The symbol represented their belief that a small group of enlightened individuals should secretly guide society's development from behind the scenes. The Order of the Silver Triangle believed that regular people were too emotional and ignorant to make good decisions for themselves. They thought wealthy, educated men like themselves should manipulate politics and business from the shadows. They called this invisible leadership and saw it as their moral duty to save humanity from its own mistakes. Marcus learned that the order had chapters in major cities across America and Europe. Members included industrialists, politicians, judges, newspaper owners, and religious leaders. They used their positions to influence elections, business deals, and public opinion. They met monthly to coordinate their activities and plan long-term strategies for shaping society according to their vision. The more Marcus read, the more disturbing the picture became. The order wasn't just a social club for rich men who wanted to feel important. They actively worked to prevent certain people from gaining power or influence. They opposed women's voting rights, labor unions, and immigrant communities. They believed these groups threatened their vision of proper social order and progress. Members were sworn to absolute secrecy through elaborate ceremonies described in detail in the book. They could never admit the order existed or reveal other members' names, even to their own families. If they left the group, they had to destroy all materials and never speak of their involvement. Breaking these rules meant social and financial ruin through the order's extensive network of influence. The book also revealed that members were expected to place the order's goals above their personal interests, family relationships, and even their country's needs. They saw themselves as citizens of a higher cause that transcended normal loyalties and moral obligations. This explained why Blackwood would risk everything to display the symbol in his portrait. Marcus realized that Blackwood had originally worn the order's symbol openly in his portrait. This showed his pride in his membership and his commitment to their cause, but at some point someone had painted over the symbol. This suggested that either Blackwood himself or someone else wanted to hide his connection to the group as times changed. Checking the historical timeline, Marcus found that women gained the right to vote in 1920. Labor unions became more powerful in the 1920s and 1930s. Immigration increased dramatically after World War I. All of these changes went against everything the order stood for. As their influence declined and public opinion shifted, members probably became more secretive about their past involvement. Sarah and Marcus carefully removed the rest of the paint covering Blackwood symbol. The original artwork was perfectly preserved underneath. The symbol was painted in silver paint that still gleamed after more than a century. It was positioned exactly where an order member would wear a pin or badge in real life, making it clearly visible to anyone who knew what to look for. This discovery forced historians to completely reconsider Blackwood's legacy and motivations. His donations to schools and hospitals weren't acts of simple charity or Christian kindness. They were part of the order's strategy to maintain social control by influencing what children learned and how communities developed. The schools taught values that supported the existing power structure. His business practices also took on new meaning with this context. Records showed that Blackwood had refused to hire immigrants and had fought against worker safety regulations in court. He had used his newspaper holdings to support politicians who opposed voting rights for women. All of these actions aligned perfectly with the order's published goals and methods. The museum faced a difficult decision about how to present this information. They had already announced the exhibition featuring Blackwood as a local hero and example of civic responsibility. Marketing materials showed him as an example of how wealthy citizens should serve their communities. Now, they knew the truth about his hidden beliefs and secret activities. Museum Director Dr. Elizabeth Morris called several emergency meetings with the Board of Trustees. Some members wanted to cancel the exhibition entirely to avoid controversy. Others argued that the discovery made the exhibition even more important as a teaching opportunity. After long discussions, they decided to show both versions of the portrait side by side. The exhibition drew huge crowds when it opened 2 months later. Newspapers across the country covered the story of the hidden symbol and the secret society. Television news programs sent reporters to interview Sarah and Marcus about their detective work. Other museums began examining their own portraits more carefully using similar techniques. Several similar discoveries were made in different cities over the following months. Portraits in Boston, Chicago, and San Francisco all revealed hidden symbols connected to various secret societies. Each discovery added to the growing understanding of how these groups operated and influenced American society during the early 20th century. Historians started researching the Order of the Silver Triangle's influence on major historical events. They found evidence of the group's involvement in important political campaigns, business mergers, and social movements. What had seemed like separate historical events were actually part of coordinated efforts by order members to shape society according to their vision. The Blackwood portrait became famous as an example of how much history can be hidden in plain sight. Art conservation techniques continue to reveal secrets that powerful people tried to bury forever. Each discovery reminds us that the official version of history often conceals uncomfortable truths about the people we're taught to admire. This case also showed how important it is to question what we think we know about the past. Edmund Blackwood appeared to be a generous philanthropist for over a century. But scientific analysis and careful research revealed that he was actually working to limit other people's freedom and opportunities while appearing to help them. The hidden symbol in his portrait was more than just an interesting discovery for art historians. It was proof that he belonged to a group that actively worked against democracy and equality. His public image as a kind benefactor was carefully constructed to hide his real beliefs and activities from the people he claimed to serve. Today, the restored Blackwood portrait serves as a warning about accepting historical narratives without investigation. It reminds visitors that people in power often have hidden agendas that contradict their public statements and actions. The painting encourages us to look deeper and ask harder questions about the figures we're told to admire and respect. Sarah Chen continues her work as a conservator, but she approaches each painting differently now. She knows that every artwork might contain secrets waiting to be discovered by modern technology and careful analysis. Her techniques can reveal truths that have been hidden for generations, changing our understanding of history. Dr. Marcus Webb expanded his research into other secret societies from the same period. He has found evidence that the Order of the Silver Triangle was just one of many groups trying to control society from the shadows. His work helps us understand how wealthy elites have always sought to maintain their power and privilege through hidden networks. The museum's decision to show both versions of the portrait has become a model for other institutions facing similar situations. When historical discoveries challenge accepted narratives, museums now try to present the full story rather than hiding uncomfortable facts that might upset visitors or donors. This restoration project proves that history is never truly settled or complete. New discoveries can change everything we thought we knew about important figures and events. The truth often lies just beneath the surface, waiting for the right tools and techniques to bring it to light. Like this video and subscribe for more stories that history tried to bury. Every artifact holds potential secrets, and every investigation might rewrite what we know about the past.